Hi there. So I thought today, I did a reel this week about how to make your makeup last. So I thought I'm putting my makeup on, I'm just going to do that in real time. I am using my Saint makeup for my foundation, but I'm actually going to use some other things that I've really been loving, some new makeup that I tried this week for the rest of my face, and just show you that and see how it goes. So I'm just going to get started on the foundation, and I'm kind of probably, winter, I may have to shade down, but I'm gonna just try a little bit of my usual shade just to cover some dark spots and then shade down in some other areas. So for that, I'm gonna use my Saint One Compact Makeup. And actually, this is about making it last. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I've been trying, usually I use just the regular Morphe setting spray, and I really like it. I kind of like, I'm definitely open to trying other ones, but I like that this doesn't come out super like wet, it's just a very fine mist. And this one is a prep and set. So the first thing I'm gonna do, and even if it wasn't a prep and set, the first thing I do when I'm trying to make my makeup last is I do usually use a setting spray. So I apply my skincare, which I've already done off camera, and I let it sit for about 15 or 20 minutes, because if you don't let it set and absorb into your skin, it's just gonna make your makeup slide all over your face. So that's the first thing I do, is to let my skincare set. Then I go in with a setting spray. And I see that one's just like a really fine mist, which I love that. So I'm just gonna apply that and let that dry. It doesn't take very long for that to dry. So I would do that no matter what setting spray I'm using. And that already actually feels pretty dry. It feels good. So now I'm gonna apply my foundation, and then I'll show you some little tricks here and there along the way that I use to make my foundation last longer. And actually I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna put some on my finger, and then just kind of, do I use a primer? I don't usually use a primer. I have the e.l.f., like that one, it's supposed to be like the Milk Hydro Grip, that's sticky. That one's fine. I've used the poreless putty. They're fine, but I don't know that they really make a huge difference, especially if I just let my skincare set and go in with a setting spray. I think the cream makeup just really, at least it maybe for other makeups, but for cream makeup, I really don't have any issue if I just, let my skincare set and then go in with a setting spray. I don't really have any problem. And if I'm using the right colors. Sometimes I think with any foundation, using the right color is a big deal, because if you're using a light color, it's some kind of weird sorcery. It's like if it's too light and accentuates everything, but it also seems to break up and slide off of your skin, and it just doesn't look right. So that's another thing that I actually forgot to talk about in my video. I don't know if I talk about it in part 2. I made 2 reels about making your makeup last. And that is actually a really important thing, is making sure that you're not going too light, especially as you age. So I don't use a primer, but I'm gonna use this prep and set, and I do apply that under my eyes, just because I do have problems with creasing. I have fine lines under my eyes, and no matter what I use, there is no perfect makeup, right? And so everything's gonna crease. Makeup creases. That's just how it is. If you have wrinkles, things are gonna crease into it. So I apply that and let that dry. And now I'm just gonna get started on my regular makeup. So I'm gonna start today with, I think I'll start with my contour. You can do it any other, there's no real right or wrong way. But I'm using Cedar today. I kind of like Cedar. It's not too dark, but not too light. It's kind of like that perfect shade. And so I'm just tapping. I don't want to use too much, so that's another thing, is while I'm applying my makeup, I don't want to use too much makeup, because again, it's just going to slide around, accentuate things you don't like, and it's not going to last. So I'm going to put just a little bit on both sides, and then I'll blend it, because I don't want to dip in again. I think that's enough for both, especially once we get everything going. You can always add more. I'd rather start with less and then add more later. But I always want to get right under here. I hate that little skin that you get, especially I've lost some weight, and as you get older, it just doesn't bounce back. So a little shadow always makes things a little better. And I pop some right there on that jowl area, make it look like I have a more defined jawline than I do. And then I just kind of somewhat blending as I go, and then I blend, I'll be using a setting sponge, one of those like beauty sponges, to kind of blend everything together. And then I might actually just go a little bit, and I'm just stippling. So you don't want to be rubbing and pushing things around, especially with aging skin. You just want to stipple. And so that is, I'm not going to do my forehead. Most of it's going to be covered. I'm more of a bronzer girl anyway. I have a smaller forehead, so I'm just going to use bronzer today on my forehead. This is a brush I really love for foundation, especially in the winter when I need a little more coverage, is the powder brush from 𝗧𝗵𝘁. I really like that. I use that flat end. But again, you're not using a lot, so I'm just gonna tap into Hazel. And this is gonna look a little dark, but it seems to work for me in certain areas, and then I'll use Sandy around my jawline because that's where I notice it looks maybe a little dark, but on the rest of my face, I like the darkness. It seems to cover, like even under my eyes, I feel like using that darker color really just makes a difference. Kind of camouflages everything. I have a lot of redness around my nose, so I like to use Hazel around my nose just because it's a little darker. So it seems strange to want to use a darker color, but it really does work. I mean, you don't want to go too dark where it looks very obvious and strange, but something a little darker, because too light does just the opposite, accentuates all of the bad things that we're trying to hide, right? Pores, texture, things you don't want to draw attention to. And so I'll use that kind of in this area of my face where I have more redness. I do have a little melasma right there, so I might use just a tiny touch of Hazel, but I'll probably go over it with Sandy just to blend it together. And that's Sandy's right there. And so I'm gonna use that and just stipple that on the lower part of my face. So that's the fun part that I love about 𝗧𝗵𝘁 is some people, it's really not daunting, but they think I can't use all these different colors on different parts of my face. That's confusing, but it's really not confusing. It's just, you know, think of it, your face has different colors, it has different needs, and your artist can help you if you're really not sure what to do. But, you know, I'm lighter down here, closer to my neck, so I'm gonna use a little bit lighter color down there. And it's as easy as that. Okay, so now I'm gonna add a little bit of a highlight for some brightness. Actually, I'm gonna put a little extra Hazel. This eye always seems a little darker than this eye, so just make sure everything is camouflaged. And then something else that I've noticed, at least for my dark circles, that helps my makeup to last longer and not decrease under my eyes. Sometimes I like a dense brush because it has more coverage, but if I use something that's a little more fluffy and applies less makeup, I think it's just sometimes our brains tell us we need more. If it's something that we're self-conscious about, like I'm self-conscious about my dark circles, so I kind of think I need to pack on more makeup to cover them. But really, I sometimes find if I'm just using something very fluffy, you know, it's small so it fits in the area, but it's definitely lighter coverage, that it looks a little better. So I'm going to use Candlelit, and I'm just going to put a little bit here on my forehead, and for the most part I'm just stippling. I can put a little bit down my nose. I'm not sure maybe if I should contour my nose or not. That's always tough for me, but I might try. I put a little bit on my upper lip, and then some in the middle here, middle of my chin. And then this is where normally I would go in with something more dense for more coverage. But I'm kind of finding that, especially if I put that primer under there first with my finger, not primer, the setting spray, and then I just use like a fluffy brush, that I don't get so much settling under my eyes. And sometimes, you know, maybe we don't need perfection. It still looks better than when I started. You know, I'm gonna have maybe some darkness under there no matter what makeup, and so then it's a trade-off. Do you want it to look completely no dark circles, no color, but it's cakey and, you know, settles? Or do you want to have a little bit less coverage, but it looks more natural, a little more dewy and glowy, So I guess sometimes it's personal preference. So I prefer using this brush now and just applying a smaller amount. It takes some getting used to. But that does help too with longevity. And so then what I find too to help make it last is using any kind of like blending bud, beauty sponge, something like this. Mine is damp, but it's not soaking wet. You want it to be just kind of cool to the touch. If it's too wet, it's gonna pull your makeup off. So you want it, you know, just damp. And I like to just tap that all over because it'll take off any excess makeup that might slide around and come off. So this also helps with longevity of your makeup. Especially under your eyes, you wanna make sure you get any excess from under your eyes because it will definitely settle there. And then for me, the next thing I like to do is I know that over the years, my skin has changed. I used to have very oily skin, then it went to very dry skin. Now it's more a combination skin. You know, things happen as you age and go through menopause and things like that. So now I know that my cheeks are gonna stay more dry, but throughout the day, I do get a little shiny in this area. And I also like to set under my eyes as long as I do it carefully and minimally because I do have a little bit of hollow under my eyes and I feel like the powder just smooths that out. So I do like to set, if I can find my powder, which I thought, yeah, there it is. So I'm gonna add some powder just to a few key areas. And I go back and forth. I do like a puff, but lately, again, I've been liking just a tiny beauty sponge. This one is damp. And I dip it into my powder, but I don't go in with all of that. So I tap it off on my hand until it's just you can almost barely see it. And then I just put it right here. And if I contour my nose, I'll bring it down my nose to kind of carve that out. And under the other eye. And I might use a little more. I won't tap off quite as much. I definitely use it in this area, a little down my nose, around my nose because I get oily there, and kind of right here in the center of my chin. So just the center of my face, I know that now I'm getting oily again. So I put just a little bit of powder there to set. And that helps as well. Okay. So I still have, they're very subtle, but I still have my lashes on. I'll probably take those off tonight. I've had them on for probably, they usually last about 7 days. I think I'm on day 6. They're still going pretty strong, but I'm just gonna, in case I got any powder on there, I'm gonna brush through them with a little spoolie. I do like a little more dramatic lash, but I needed to do something where I needed more kind of natural lashes, so I did put these on. But for the week, I might just go back to mascara and then next week put on some more dramatic ones. But they've lasted, so they've done pretty well. I think they look pretty good. So next I'm gonna do, I kind of like to do my lips sometimes because then I can tell how much blush I need. I'm not gonna do anything on my eyes. I'm just gonna carry over, I'll add some bronzer. I like to put some bronzer on my eye and maybe a little blush, which you'll see. So I'm gonna use a lip liner. This one is Iconic Nude from Charlotte Tilbury. And just do a little lining. I use lashes from Fiery Cosmetics. It's Cosmetics T-I-X is how you spell it. And they come in 3 clusters instead of like normally they come in like 6 or more little tiny pieces. These come in clusters of 3. So they're super fast to put on, super easy to put on. They're waterproof. They really, and I took a shower. I got them wet today. I actually put the washcloth because I had some mascara around my eye and some eye makeup and they've stayed on. I've done that all week and they really have stayed on. So I have, I don't think I have a code anymore, but you can find, you could find the website if you go to the link in my bio, I think. If not, I can send that to you if you message me. But I really like their products. I think they're great. And, you know, they really do last. I said everything that they say about their lashes is true. So these really are going strong after 6 days. And I put them on in my stories, and so people saw me put them on and how that worked and how easy they were. So that was fun to do and to show how easy they really are. So now I'm going in with the, is this from Maybelline? I'm like one of the last people on earth to try the Lifter Gloss. I really like it. It's really nice. So I'm just gonna pop some gloss on. I'm not doing a super dramatic heavy makeup look. I did that on my last live. I did green eyeshadow, which looked really pretty, but I don't need to do green eyeshadow today. We just need to look presentable to get out of the house. Okay, so next I'm gonna put a little bit of whatever's left over on my brush for my foundation, just to get some of that extra color off of my lids, and then whatever powder's left. And then I'm gonna add some bronzer because I can't live without bronzer. And right now I've actually been mixing, I really am, I'm addicted to bronzer. I mix together, this one's Bella and that's High Tide. I love them both, I really do. I can't pick. Some days I like Bella, some days I like High Tide. And then a lot of times I literally just take my fluffy brush and go back and forth and I mix them together. So I just tap a little on my forehead. And then a little on my cheeks. Again, for the most part, I don't do a whole lot of swirling, even if it looks like I am. It's not like really harsh swirling. It's just really tiny, almost stippling circles. So that's kind of how I apply all my makeup. If I need to, I will bring some down my neck. Yes, I love bronzer. I mean, I really, there are days where, you know, you're rushing around and you're just not like your normal self, and I have forgotten to put bronzer on. Thankfully, it's always in my compact, and I carry my compact with me everywhere. That's just who I am. I've always been that way. And I'll look at myself and I'm like, something's not right. Something's not right. What is wrong? And I can't figure it out. And then it hits me as I don't have bronzer on. So I'm like not me without bronzer. And I always just go back and add more and more and more, where it's like, okay, stop. That's enough. Stop. So I think that's enough. If I need more, I'll go back later and have more. So there's my bronzer. I said I was using Bella and High Tide. I just love them both. They're so pretty, and they're pretty mixed together. I found that since I stopped coloring my hair and I have some grays, that I like the warmth of High Tide. So my hair, I'm gonna have to go like refresh it here. It looks a little crazy from moving it around, but I was a diehard Bella girl, Bella. But now that my hair has some gray to it and it's a little bit cooler, I definitely like a little warmth from High Tide. So I think it's like an underrated color. I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. It's, you know, because Bella is so universal, but I love High Tide. Beautiful. I think I'm actually gonna add some, oh, what is the color of this one? My old eyes. Opal. So I used, they make things so hard to read when you're older. Hang on one second. I'm going to tell you what my shades in Lifter Gloss were, because I think I'm going to put the darker one over it just for a little extra color. Or I know I have another trick. So I used Ice over my Charlotte Tilbury lip liner, but I think I'm going to go in with Opal. But first, I have our shade of the month from Saint Kiss. And I've actually been using it on my lips, not on my eyes. So I've really been loving it there, especially when you see my blush look. So, do you recommend it? Yeah, I love it. I don't know why more people don't talk about it, because it's gorgeous. So this is Kiss on my lips. And I'm wearing it on my lips more than anywhere else, honestly. So that's Kiss, and I'm gonna top it actually with a little extra Opal. That's been my go-to lately. Okay, so that's that. And so you know what? I didn't put my bronzer like I said. So I like to add a little bit just around kind of the edge of my eye if I'm not doing eyeshadow look. So I'll put some kind of like just on the brow bone. And then I'll also carry my blush there as well. Just kind of ties everything together. So now I also have been loving, I am late to the party on all of these things like the lifter gloss, the e.l.f. Halo Glow Beauty Bond. So I have it in Pink Me Up. I love this one too. It is so pretty. I love it. So I'm going to show you that. And this I found as well, just like I love cream blush because if you put too much on, you can, you know, pat it down and take some of it away. I kind of found like I can't screw up too badly with this either. If I feel like I really put too much on, if I wait a little bit, it seems to tone down, or I can just use my sponge and remove some of it. So I don't know if other people find that, but I really like this. So let me grab my brush. I have been told that some people have problems that this dries down, so you have to work quickly. I haven't had too much problem with it, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just working quickly enough that it's not drying. It's I'm having no problem with it, so I'm just gonna put a few dots. Let me squeeze up a tiny bit. I don't want to squeeze too much. And I like this shade with my lips. You could wear this on your lips too. I've done that. So I just put a few dots and just start patting. And I think it's a pretty color. It's just got, it does have a glow to it. I can see why it's called Halo Glow. And then I go back and forth just in case it starts to dry. Like it doesn't have to look perfect yet. I just go back and forth, kind of spread it out between both cheeks. And then like, I don't know sometimes if it's the lighting, that one looks a little brighter. I'll just take my sponge and just tap a little bit. Like I said, usually it doesn't look like it kind of tones down, I think. So put a little there, a little there. I'll even carry a little over my nose. I'll put some right there in my forehead because it doesn't look super pink. It'll just bring like a little bit of highlight. And I love to put blush when I'm not wearing eyeshadow, just kind of on the edge of my brow bone. I just feel like it ties my whole face together. I don't know, I love this stuff. I feel like I could just put it everywhere. And I'll just go back in with my bronzer just to kind of, in case it is a little too pink, just to add some warmth back. And that's it. That is all. But since we're talking about, making makeup last, don't forget the setting spray. So for me, setting spray is super important. I just feel like it brings everything together. I already put powder on, so if you're joining later, I did put powder on in my T-zone because I know I get oily there. So if you're someone who gets oily, you do want to set with powder, but I like to kind of finish with setting spray because I feel like it takes some of the powderiness away from the powder. It makes it look more natural and just sort of like smooths it all out. And then it really does help your makeup last. It really does. So this one is the Morphe Continuous Prep and Set. I used it to prep my full face. I used it to prep under my eyes. And now I'm just gonna finish. And I love that it's just such a fine mist. So that's why I've been using Morphe lately. But I had their original and I thought I'd try that one. So this one is supposed to be supercharged with ceramides and antioxidants. It smells really good. It smells very fresh. And then I just let everything set. And if you need to make any adjustments, you can. But that is how I find I can make my makeup last all day long. So that is it. If you do have any questions, let me know. If you needed the link to the lashes, there were some questions about the lashes. I'm happy to send you the link to the lashes that I'm wearing. And that's it. If you need a color match, let me know. I'd be happy to color match you. Other than that, have a wonderful Sunday. Bye.